Stephen Edwin King was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. His books have sold more than 350 million copies and have been adapted into many movies, television movies, and comic books. King has published 50 novels and 5 non-fiction books. He has written nearly 200 short stories, most of which have been collected in 9 collections of short fiction. Some of his most famous books are Carrie, The Shining, It, Bisirri, The Green Mile, As a child, King apparently witnessed one of his friends being struck and killed by a train, though he has no memory of the event. His family told him that after leaving home to play with the boy, King returned, speechless and in shock. Only later did the family learn of the friend's death. Some commentators have suggested that this event may have psychologically inspired some of King's darker works. King studied English at the University of Maine, graduating in 1970. After leaving the university, King earned a certificate to teach at school, but being unable to find a teaching post immediately, began to sell short stories to men's magazines. Then, King was hired as a teacher at Hampton Academy in Maine, but continued to contribute short stories and worked on ideas for novels. It was during this time that King developed a drinking problem which would plague him for more than a decade. In 1974, his mother died of uterine cancer. After his mother's death, King and his family moved to Colorado, where King wrote The Shining. In June 1999, King was walking on Route 5 in Maine. Driver Brian Smith, distracted by the dog moving in the back of his minivan, struck King, who landed in a depression in the ground about 14 feet from the pavement of Route 5. After 5 operations in 10 days and physical therapy, King resumed work, though his hip was still shattered and he could only sit for about 40 minutes before the pain became worse. In 2002, King announced he would stop writing, apparently motivated in part by frustration with his injuries, which had made sitting uncomfortable. But he has soon resumed writing.
The Shining is the 3rd published novel of Stephen King. The title was inspired by the John Lennon song Instant Karma, which contained the line "We all shine on." A film based upon the book, The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, was released in 1980. The book was later adapted into a television miniseries in 1997. Jack Torrance is an aspiring writer who is attempting to rebuild his marriage and career, both of which have been ruined by alcoholism and explosive temper. Jack accepts a job as a winter caretaker at the Overlook Hotel, an isolated resort in Colorado. Jack hopes that the isolation will help him reconnect with his family and give him inspiration, peace, and quiet to help him write a new play. Jack, his wife Wendy, and their 5-year-old son Danny, who has telepathic abilities unknown to his parents, move into the Overlook. As the Torrance settle in at the Overlook, Danny sees frightening ghosts and visions. Although Danny is close to Jack, he does not tell either of his parents about his visions. The Overlook has difficulties possessing Danny, so it begins to possess Jack, who starts to develop cabin fever, and the ghosts of the hotel gradually begin to overtake him, making him increasingly unstable. Soon the hotel takes control of Jack and urges him to kill his wife and son. In the end, Danny and Wendy manage to escape, but Jack remains trapped in the hotel. The unstable boiler in the basement is about to explode. Jack hurries down to relieve the pressure, but it's too late and the boiler explodes, destroying the overlook. In 1980 was delivered The Shining, the movie, directed by Stanley Kubrick. It is a psychological movie based on the novel of Stephen King, who said that although Kubrick made a memorable movie, it was not a good adaptation of his novel because some of important themes were ignored. The novel and the movie have lots of differences. For example, the mysterious room in the novel is 2017, instead in the movie is 2037. Another difference is that the disintegration of the family and the dangers of alcoholism were not enough developed in the movie. The relationship between Danny and Jack is very strong in the novel. Instead, in the movie, Danny is closer to Wendy. There is no edge maze in the novel, but a garden of edge animals. In the novel, Jack is possessed by the Overlook. In the movie, Jack goes mad without a clear reason. Jack chases Wendy and Danny with a mallet in the novel. In the movie, he has an axe. Jack died when the Overlook explodes in the novel. In the movie, Jack died outside the hotel, which is still standing.
Here's Johnny!
Basically, the main difference is that a book can be a movie and a movie can be a book. Kubrick changed many things of King's masterpiece and didn't care about the story and the attitude of the protagonists, as instead the King did in the novel. Kubrick made a psychological thriller rich in symbols. Despite the differences and the critics, both novel and movie were enigmatic and complex.
Come play with us, Daddy.
They were able to leave the reader, always stunned and speechless.